You are watching or listening to Purham and Associates. For more information, visit rpurham.com and subscribe on all social media platforms at rpurham. Thank you, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Hey, good day to you all. Welcome to Purham and Associates. I'm your host, Randy Purham. Hey, I hope you all had a fantastic weekend and up to the midweek here. You know, it is Wednesday evening? Yeah, Wednesday evening. And a lot to talk about. A lot of crazy stuff in the media, in legacy media, or I just say media in general. And I got none other than Tiffani with us tonight. We're gonna get into some of that. And without further ado, I'm gonna bring her on so we can get caught up and get rocking and rolling. Tiff, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you?
I'm living a legend. So, what's going on in your neck of the woods?
It's warm. As always.
It's getting hot. Yeah, it's getting hot down here in Texas. Yeah, it's getting hot right now. I can't go outside, good 5 minutes, and I'm already got beads of sweat coming. So I'm just like, jeez. So I got ladies and gentlemen, if you got Buc-ee's here in Texas, if you go to Buc-ee's here in Texas, get your America 250 Buc-ee's cup. And yeah.
That's so
and see,
cool.
I heard that Buc-ee's is planning on expanding across the nation. So for those that are in other parts of the states outside of Texas, look for a Buc-ee's coming near you soon. But yeah, it is getting a little warm. Or I should say hot. It ain't warm, it's hot. But that is Texas summer. And so we're in the midst of the summer months now. So it is what it is. Drink water, stay motivated, and keep doing what you're doing.
Basically, that's all you can do.
Yeah,
so other than the weather, it's been interesting, especially in this community. I've seen a lot of things happen, people who are disgruntled about the cost of living, having to move out of Nevada, going to other countries that have a reduced cost of living per se, like South Dakota, other places like that. So it's I think, when we talk about the seniors and what they're doing or what their expectations are of the government or just life itself, they are expecting a lot, but I don't think that, things are going to change anytime soon to reflect what they want.
I agree.
Things keep increasing. Cost of living gets to be more. So what do? You can't, you either are forced to go live with your family. Maybe you have a nice family and you love them, or you don't and you hate them, and whatever. That's.
I'm just gonna suck it up. I'm gonna stay in this basement. I'm gonna stay in my room forever.
So that's kind of like what I'm seeing now, and kind of not focused on, but just seeing.
Yeah, just pay attention to it. Yeah, and you're right. You're absolutely right. The cost of living is, there's a disparity going on in our economy right now, right? And we're in our society even. So the socioeconomic apparatus is creating disparity with all this increasage of technology coming along. AI, and for ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna debunk the myth right now. AI is not necessarily eliminating jobs per se. I would argue that AI is actually creating jobs. It's just a matter of the skill labor, the market labor, or I should say the supply of people available to fill those jobs and have the skill set to do so. So it's not necessarily eliminating jobs in that regard, but nonetheless, the increase in technology usage has created this dichotomy of people saying, you know what, I can't compete in this market, or I can't get hired for this job, so I can't afford anything anymore, type of thing. So it's creating that world right now, and I get it. The older generations, they're a little slower to adopt the technology that's coming along, so they struggle with learning these computers, learning how to do coding, learning how to navigate the systems that's out there. You go into McDonald's and now there's only the workers preparing the food. You gotta go to a kiosk and punch in what you want to order. Yeah, and so I get it. You're 89 years old and you walk into McDonald's thinking that you can just talk to a person and order your food and be done with it. No, now you gotta sit here and try to read this screen that has all these colors going on and stuff, just lined up, and you gotta scroll the screen. I get it. It's overwhelming because I hate it myself personally, and I'm nowhere near 89. And so it's just like, man, so I'm just going to pre-order my stuff. That way I can take my time with it, and see exactly what it is I'm ordering. And even that is a challenge for the older population or just the population in general. So it's like I said, it's not necessarily an elimination of jobs. It's just an adaptability issue. So moving around the country, moving to other countries, you're not going to avoid that issue. And it's just unfortunate. And my only advice to those that population of people that are affected by this is that you link arms with somebody who is willing to help teach you these things, help you navigate these things, and go from there. That's my best advice I could give on that. So.
Well, yes, that's what I've learned, and a lot of them do come to me because they don't understand, and they're not flexible, and they won't adapt because they figure that they don't have to. We went through industrial age. They moved into the industrial age before whatever it was prior to that, and it was people had to learn how to cope with life. The women were single. The men were at war. They had to come in and do the jobs of men, and, to keep the society and the country running. So it's no different. We just have a different dynamic coming in at age. But when you're that old, you really don't want to change. You just don't. You just want to continue who you are.
Yeah, that's a great analogy, Tiff. That the industrial age, World War II, even the Vietnam War to some smaller extent. There was that. Like, oh, this is going on, and I can't go to the butcher now, so I gotta cut the beef myself. Like, wait, what? Type of thing. So, there is an adjustment period, and I think all in all, I think we'll be all right, because there is this whole idea of the data centers that's popping up all over the country. People are pushing back on that, and my thing is embrace the suck. You're not going to eliminate or stop this technology that's coming. AI. You pick up your phone and now I'm typing an email earlier today, and it automatically starts filling in the words of what I was saying in the email. And I'm like, what the hell is this? I'm like, I don't want to say that. I saw backspace and it was like, no, it sounds better this way. I'm like, I ain't asked you. Get on my phone, type of thing. And so that's what we're dealing with now, is that we are utilizing technology so much that it's becoming predictive of what it is that we're trying to do. And I'm not going to say, I can't even sit here and be honest with the audience and say I hate it or I don't want to use it. No, I'm willing to use it, but we need to have, I'm not going to say regulations per se, but it needs to be a happy medium of usage versus user, using it versus, the person that's using it. I should be able to turn it off and say, I don't want to be bothered with you right now. Let me do this the organic way, and go about your business. So I use ChatGPT and stuff like that. I use it now more so for like Photoshop, and like an advanced version of Google. And so when I want to research something, I just put in there and say, tell me about this, and it gives me a whole consortium of stuff, and I'm like, okay, cool. And so I use it for that, mostly. I can't really imagine myself, because I'm so old school. I like to do research like independently, so I'm going to pick up a book and read it myself, type of thing. But AI is now merging and making that easier, so it summarizes what it is that you're looking for. And now teachers, college students are relying on AI, and this is the other issue we're gonna have. You got college kids that are now in school utilizing AI to do their papers. They're not actually doing the constructive research. They're not using their own train of thought on building these things. And so the teachers are now stuck in this world of, I have to now fact check or run it through the, computer system, whatever program. Because when I was in school, there was a program that we put our papers in, it would tell you how much of the paper was plagiarized from something else. And you have a chance to go in there and fix it, type of thing. Now with AI, it's going to be kind of like hard pressed to do that. So it's like, either I'm dealing with a classroom full of geniuses or a classroom full of cheaters. Which one is it? I'm going to leave with the classroom full of cheaters. So the teachers are now like, I'm stuck here, so I'm not going to give everybody an A. You're going to get a C because you're kind of like in between there, because I don't know, like, is this actually your work, or did you use, AI to create it? So that's where we at. And it's sad. It's sad, but it's not sad. And I would say it's an adjustment. We're in a world now that we just have to adjust to a lot of things. I'm seeing now political campaigns are being ran with AI. It's just like, come on.
Eventually it's going to get to that point, but we'll be in the Jetson age pretty soon, and then we'll be the baby boomers that are coming, and that generation, the older generation, like, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? But of course we have to be flexible and adaptable, and it's just, change is inevitable, and we have to embrace it, because there's nothing you can't control it. Control what you can and leave the rest.
I agree. So, I mean, it is what it is. And, we're sitting here talking about AI and life, and the next generation. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen. Just imagine if you're in your 40s, right? In 40s, 50s window, you grew up in the 80s and 90s when none of this stuff existed. You didn't have, a laptop at your disposal. You didn't have, your cell phone in your hand. You didn't have social media. You had to actually do work to learn something, right?
Yeah.
The next generation that's coming along right now, they're gonna look back when they're in their 40s and 50s, and they're gonna be like, man, I missed out on having to do these things, and I don't know anything organically. I had to rely on computers and technology to get me through life, and that's like a crazy thing, because I can't even have an honest conversation with a 20-year-old right now. like about life and about what's going on, and telling them how things work. You can't. You really can't. You can't relate with them, and they're looking at you like, why'd y'all do that? It's like we had no choice. Like that's kind of like the way we live, and it's like, why did you drive the car? You know, it's like the car drives itself now. Like it's like, yeah, we actually had to learn how to drive. God, as crazy as that, yes, exactly. As crazy as that sounds, that is the conversations that we're having now. Kids these days, they're like, the car drives itself. I can just get in it and take a nap and get to my destination. You know, and it's like, yeah, but I gotta actually pay attention and I gotta look out for your ass now, because you're literally sleeping behind the wheel. And something could happen to the computer system in that car. That car may get distracted with, you know, thinking that it's an object, the same on the brakes or whatever. You don't know because you're over there sleeping. I gotta actually physically pay attention to everything around me, defensive driving, you know, and get to my destination alive, hopefully, because now I got the Jetsons riding on the side of me, in front of me, and behind me, and they're all asleep. So this is what we're dealing with, you know. And ladies and gentlemen, I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. And you come down here to Austin, Texas, and you have what's called Waymo, the self-driving cars. Waymo, it's like that, or even the Teslas. I literally was a couple weeks ago on my way to Houston, and I'm gonna get off the subject. Going to Houston, I think I talked about this the other day. Going to Houston for our convention, our state GOP convention, and I kid you not, this is no lie. I merged onto the highway, and because we had made a pit stop, and so merged back onto the highway and everything, and get going. There was a kid in a white Tesla on the side of me. He was laid back like this on his phone on the driver's seat, like this, just texting or doing whatever he's doing, but he was on his phone, and the car is driving by itself, right? And so I look over. My wife got my attention. She said, "Look at this shit." And so I look over, and I'm like, "Wow." And so I'm driving. I'm like, "Must be nice," because I'm thinking like that's pretty cool actually. But as we get up, you know, like we're like neck and neck on the highway. And so literally about 15 minutes later, maybe, this cat is curled up like this. Sleep behind the wheel. I don't know if he was sleep, but he was curled up, like not even looking out the window type of thing. He was like curled up, and I was like, "Oh hell no!" And so I floored it because we was already going like 75. So I floored it to get away, and I got up to about 95, and you know, change lanes and all that to get away from that. Because I started thinking immediately like, what if this car loses control? What if something happens? Now, you know, my wife and I are in danger, you know, type of thing, because we're side by side with this car. And so I was like, man, this is crazy. You know, I get it. There's a lot of trust in the technology, but I don't trust it that much. So I had to say, no, it's a no for me. So, do y'all have like Waymo in Nevada?
Oh yeah, we have Waymo and we have Zook, Z-O-O-K.
Zeus, yeah. Yeah, we have that too.
Okay,
Zeus, yeah, Z-O-O-S-K, yeah.
Whatever, right? So you have 4 people who can get in this square vehicle.
Mm-hmm.
So 2 sit on one side and 2, very much like a ski-lift, right? So you have 2 on one side, 2 on the other side, and it drives you wherever you want to go, right? It takes you. But you know, that's primarily on the strip, near the strip. You see that everywhere, the Waymo and those
the Zeus
vehicle. Yeah, but this I'm getting used to it, but in California they're everywhere. I mean, you can't literally go anywhere without seeing one or the other. So it's just, you know, again, you have to learn to adapt. Things are changing, technology is getting stronger, and we're now going into the age of the Jetsons. I mean, I remember that cartoon, and everybody used to think like, "Oh, that's not going to happen," right?
It's happening.
Is happening now.
Yeah,
So
that's a form of art imitating life, or life imitating art, because somewhere, this it's so crazy to me, because remember Star Trek back in the 80s,
right?
90s? Yeah, and you're like, oh man, it says sci-fi, but that was actually that's actually reality, because we're seeing it now. We're seeing evidence of these things that they were already talking about back in the 60s and 70s, and now they're talking about, we're going to release the UFO files. This stuff is from the 50s and 60s when technology was able to capture these things, cameras and photos and videos. They was able to capture these things. Now they want to release it, and here it is 60, 70 years later, and it's like, yeah, I heard about this already. There's no surprise. You've been lying to us this whole time. Okay, thank you for telling the truth finally. But these things, if no one has a mind that creative to where they can paint the entire space of fiction like that without having some evidence that those things exist somewhere. And that is the point that I'm making here, is that the technology has always existed. It was just a matter of, is society ready to receive that technology? And now here we are, like you said, the Jetsons, for cars driving by itself. We're going to have planes can fly themselves, actually. The pilot's in a cockpit just in case something goes wrong, but that pilot, he put that joke on autopilot, and boom, he lays back like, hey Bob, what are you doing this weekend? Ladies and gentlemen, we're landing now. It's like 4 hours later, they've been chilling the whole time in the cockpit. And so the stuff exists, and it always existed. It's just a matter of the application and whether or not we're willing and ready to receive that information. And so
that's the truth. Yeah, right there.
Yeah. So these aliens. Yeah, aliens, they're among us. So some of these humans, I may air quote this, some of these humans, their asses ain't human. Period. They're modified genetic species that are walking among us, and they're reproducing with us. Ladies and gentlemen, you can call me crazy all you want, but where's the lie? That was a dramatic pause. We remember back in the 90s, actually it was the early 2000s, when they were cloning goats. And they were experimenting with embryos, eggs, and all that kind of stuff. It was like, we can genetically modify. You can go in, and a pregnant woman can identify. She can go to a doctor or a clinic or wherever, and she can identify, or the doctor can identify what genetic issues that child has in the womb, and they can correct it, modify it, change it, or whatever. Folks, that is not natural stuff, okay? That is alien technology at the end of the day. And here this baby comes and grows up, and they're just totally weird and different. And you're like, it's society now. It's just a change. No, that's a damn alien. Period.
Might, agree or disagree, I don't know what, but science is getting ready to dissolve a lot of stuff. So whatever you used to believe in, they're going to use science to tell you that it doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Because basically, science is proving that you can have a baby without, the intercourse of man and woman. So where that came from, that originated in the Bible, right? So, and just, in generally speaking, that's what you were told. The birds and the bees, men and women get together, or man and woman gets together to create a child. Now you can do that, with the test tube. And they did that way back when, right? So now you're defying a belief system. So it's going to be interesting, because there are people out there that really do question what is now. And here's what happens, especially if you're an author or you're a creative person. I think the reason why creative things have been taken out of schools, such as arts and all that, is so that they can stagnate the amount of creativity. Because if you start thinking, you start creating, right? So you're an author, and I have a friend who's a science fiction author, and he went to write a story and wanted to verify some of the things that he was putting in his book, only to find that his research is a lot broader than he even imagined. He just started off at one topic, but it opened up Pandora's box. And, he's testing, the quantum theory, all kinds of things. And I think we'll have him on the show. I'm going to try and get him. But he's like, oh, well, I don't have a PhD. I just have a high school education. But here is the thing. When you're creative, you're thinking. And most people, I guess we're in a society where they don't want most people to think. They don't want us to use that aspect of ourselves, which is, I understand it in order to control, but in order to create and innovate, you have to have that. And so, look at the schools. They've taken a lot of that stuff out.
Thank you. I accidentally unmuted myself. What I was saying, to your point, the older generation that grew up in the 50s, 60s, considered the baby boomers now, and they're much more smarter than your current PhDs that are in their 20s and 30s, book smart wise. And it's crazy because the education dynamics have totally shifted over the last few decades. And so when you're talking to somebody, and it's not because of the age gap, no, it's because of the curriculum that was given at that time and the amount of work that was required of them. Now it's like, here's this assignment, it's a paragraph long, tell me your thoughts on it in 3 weeks. It's like, what the hell? But back then it was like, here's a book, you got 24 hours to read it and write a report on it. And oh, by the way, not only are you writing a report, but you're going to present it to the class on that report. And the class is going to grade you on how you did on that report. That was how that was back then. I went through that. It was like, and I don't know if ladies and gentlemen, I know I'm telling my age a little bit here. I'm 46, but back in my day, you had to read a book, write a report on it, present it to the class, and you were competing for a gift certificate to Pizza Hut for a personal pan pizza. This was in Chicago back in the day. And so if you did good, you got that gift certificate, and you, by golly, that was your dinner. So you're going to do the best that you can on that report. And get that gift certificate to go to Pizza Hut and get that personal pan pizza, and that's what it was. And so, and yeah, granted, you weren't like the only winner type of thing. Yeah, it was like the teacher had maybe like 5, 10 of them, whatever. But you still competed for that, and you had to compete amongst your peers at that. And they would say, okay, who gave the best report, type of thing. And you're like, so you're in this like cabal in the classroom of grading your peers on like, oh yeah, their paper sucked, type of thing. Or that was good, yeah, they let them be in the running, type. That's how we grew up. And to see it now, it's totally different. It's like, oh, here's my paper I wrote, last night using Google, ChatGPT, and everything else, and it's like, okay, like, what did you write? It's in there. I don't know. I don't remember. It's like, wow.
it's just like that. It's so much like that now.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's amazing. But I know we're going to do this thing on the 16th Amendment, and what we're talking about now kind of meshes into this whole concept that you brought up to me a couple weeks ago about the 16th Amendment. So this should be really, really good. Really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the 16th Amendment, I know we talked about who's going to do it next go around, but it's setting the tone. Ladies and gentlemen, it's setting the tone. And I want, yeah, and ladies and gentlemen, listening and watching tonight, I want you to research the 16th Amendment. Hell, you can put it in ChatGPT. That's fine. I don't care. But I want you to, so you can follow along with the conversation, because I am going to write an article about the 16th Amendment as well. And it's not going to be what you think is going to be in relation to what you find in ChatGPT. You're gonna see my perspective. You're gonna see my perspective on the 16th Amendment. You're gonna be like, oh, so.
Mm-hmm. The questions that you ask ChatGPT to give you the responses that you're looking for.
Right.
That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, but ChatGPT, I'm going to tell you right now, ChatGPT will not be able to give me the responses of the questions that I will pose to it. Because, like I said, my brain and my train of thought on the 16th Amendment is totally... So, I'm going to leave it there. I'm laying the foundation. I'm laying the foundation, ladies and gentlemen. So,
spoil it for everybody.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Yeah. But speaking of amendments and all that kind of stuff, I want to get into about the Supreme Court decisions that came out this week, and there was 4 of note. I'm sure there were more, but there was 4 of note that came out. One being the ending, well, not so much the ending, but I guess you'll say, the opinion of how the president can treat the temporary status system for immigrants. All right, and ladies and gentlemen, if you watched Pastor Larry's show earlier this evening, I was on there. You saw me do this a lot throughout the show.
Yes, that's true. Opinions are not the law.
So, with that said, it is upon Congress. See, the Supreme Court lays out saying, hey, okay, this is a law or an executive order, or this is the issue. In our opinion, hint, hint, we all, like an asshole, we all got one. We got an opinion, right? So, with the opinion of the Supreme Court, the opinion of the Supreme Court says that the president has the right to end the temporary protective status of ex-immigrants, right? And so, that's fine. But it does not change the law. Congress now has to go back and say, okay, we're going to change the law to comport with what the opinion of the court is, or the social sentiment of society right now as it stands, just like they did with Plessy versus Ferguson. Look it up, ladies and gentlemen. Marbury versus Madison, Dred Scott versus Sanford, so on and so forth throughout history. Brown versus the Board of Education. All of these prior precedented cases set the tone over the years of our the course of the history of our country by opinion of a court, and it was laid upon Congress to change the law or sustain the law. They may say, Congress can't say, yeah, screw you guys, we're going to keep this law the way it is. They can do that, and they have done that. and so ladies and gentlemen, don't get it twisted. Just because the Supreme Court says something can be done or something can be done doesn't mean the law in which they were challenging changes on that spot. No, it's up to the Congress, because Congress is what? They are the creators of the law of the land. So, and the president is the enforcer of the laws through the bureaucracies of the FBI, DOJ, CIA, so on and so forth. And so that's how all this works, ladies and gentlemen. And if you actually went to school and paid attention and back in 5th grade in the 1980s and 90s, you would have learned that. But here we are. These 20 and 3-year-olds are...
Gratefully, we have an audience to understand it.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
And whatnot. But for the most part, thank you that we do have the audience that does understand that and can relate to what we're talking about today.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, the TPS thing, going back to that, that President Trump can, under the purview of Congress, or actually the law is already standing. The law was being challenged that the president can't just end the temporary protective status of people. And the Supreme Court affirmed what the law had already stated. So there's no action required on Congress at this point. But now, when we look at, Congress can come back and codify adding or making an amendment to the existing laws to make sure that it can't be challenged in the future. That's the other apparatus that we could get into, but we're not tonight. And so there was that. And, it was, to me, I'm like, this was a no-brainer. It says temporary protective status.
Yeah.
If you're here from Haiti, Syria, Mexico, Lebanon, Egypt, wherever, and you were escaping some kind of political or religious persecution, which are typically the parameters in which you would come to this country for asylum for, which I don't agree with the asylum process either, but that's a whole nother thing. So, ladies and gentlemen, I can go, boy, I can tell you, if I ran for president, it would be a landslide victory for me. I'm just saying right now.
And I have friends from Haiti, and I have friends from other places around the world. And you go to other countries, and they have a temporary timeline for you. So it's just not the United States. I mean, you go, even in Africa, you go there, you have a certain amount of time temporarily to be a resident or, in the country. So this is not something new. It's not foreign. It's
right. It's not.
Totally different. I think it's good to be temporary. I think people should reevaluate, at the end of 20 years or whatever, how long have you been here. If you like it, then you go through the due process of staying and change the temporary to permanent, right?
Right. Yeah. You apply for permanent residency or become a naturalized citizen. You go through that process, but to just hang on under the TPS status and then get that knock on the door saying, "Hey, your ass gotta go." You can't get mad. Well, I've been here for 25 years. It's like.
This is just like welfare. Welfare was built on a cap. Don't get on it. It's a temporary relief for you to find, work or employment, put yourself back in society. It's very
Yes.
To stay there for 30 years and collect the checks and then go into these nice neighborhoods and be on Section 8 and all that. Okay, I mean, that was
or try to run for public office living off of welfare. That's a whole other show. Ladies and gentlemen, that know who I am, that know me, that know what's going on, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway.
That is so great because look at what freedom does in our country. To do what we want to do, although we haven't set ourselves up properly. Let me just say that.
Yes, no, absolutely. And so the other cases that came out this week was the campaign finance. The Supreme Court agreed with the Trump administration that donating or campaign finances was a form of free speech and that people should not be restricted in the form of free speech or in the form of donating money to a candidate, you know, in the art of free speech. And so I agree with that. I actually 100% agree with that. And although, here's a caveat, ladies and gentlemen, although I think that there should be not a cap on campaign spending, but it should be a time frame, a window, and there should be a financial constraint to it overall across the board for all candidates, regardless of office. And it's very similar. And I talked about this over the years. It's a very similar system to how England does it. You know, they have, I believe it's like 3 months, and they can only spend so much money. They have so much media time. It's equal across the board. So you're running literally on your merits. Like, you get in front of the camera, and you spend so much money, and you did this. Either they like you or they don't. You know, this is a bottom line. It's not about, you know, how much money you can spend or how much merch you got out there. It's, you're in these confines, do what you do, boo-boo. Otherwise, go have a seat.
Even when I ran for office in 2020, you know, I got online and they were asking me questions about how much money did I raise. And I said, that has nothing to do with what I can do for the people. What does money have to do with it?
Yeah,
you know, I'm
absolutely.
going to have money, but if you are going to vote for me because I haven't raised enough money for my campaign, but I can't go on the merit of how I feel about humanity and the changes I want to see for people, then we got this whole system twisted. And a lot of it comes in when people want, you know, because companies, corporations, they find a nice candidate that they want to represent them in different ways. And this is how it works. So they give you money to, you know, to agree or, you know, go along with whatever they're asking you to do. And if you agree to it, that's on you, and that's fine. But you become, if you win, you become like you become changed to that, if you will. So you don't have any freedom. What freedom do you have? If somebody's giving you all kinds of money to favor a position that they want, then that's where you're going to go. And that's what a lot of people understand. It's not about what you do for the people. It's about how much money you raise and how much money other people have given you based on what they want changed.
But pay for it. Yeah.
Right? And here's what I say to the people. Congress, Assembly, Senate, they are representatives of the government. They are all negotiators between people and government. Now, ladies and gentlemen, know what you want. Know what you want. Half the time, everybody thinks that, especially as politicians, think that you don't know what you want. They think that if you go every day or every other week to a cookout and get some free hot dogs, that you're going to vote for them, because you're not even thinking about what you truly, really want. And then when you vote in, then you get the same as the same
got from the previous.
So
I agree.
So we need to be changing our perspective. Like Randy, you are an exceptional candidate too. And we are people about the people. Our job is not rocket science, but know what you want so somebody can go in there and negotiate and lobby for what you want. And that's the key.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But it does take money to run a campaign. There's
it does.
And all that.
Right, and to me, you're absolutely right, Tiff, 1,000%, and I concur. And I look at it like this, ladies and gentlemen, the different perspective. If you see a candidate, say like in a primary, like a candidate A, B, even C, D, right? You look at their platforms, look at what they're talking about, you look at what they're doing, and you're saying, okay, I like this candidate, but they haven't raised money. You might want to reconsider that thought process right there, because if you like them and you want to vote for them, what does it matter how much money they raise? The money doesn't win money doesn't win elections, ladies and gentlemen. The people win elections. And so I ran my campaign, I'll just go back like this. I ran my campaign a very frugal campaign, very frugal. It was, and you know, but I was a threat to the other candidates because they were like, well, damn, you know, he ran his social media. He went out door knocking. He showed up to the key events, and he didn't have to spend the amount of money that we're spending because we got all these people that we're paying, SCOTUS and everything else, and trying to get billboards up and all this kind of stuff. He's actually meeting people where they are, you know, type of thing. And I did that, like I said, very frugally. And so my campaign, I think I had somewhere around 30,000, and this is in comparison to those that have raised hundreds of thousands. Some even have like a couple mil. So, ladies and gentlemen, just remember, I ran in a 2022 midterm primary, and I had Santa Claus, Sarah Palin, and Nick Begich on the ballot with me. And yeah, I came in. Amongst 50 people, I came in, I ranked in like number 10 because I didn't really have the name recognition and all that. But, you know, it's just a matter of the money factor played a role in drowning me down. I still pulled like a little bit over 300 votes out of that. But once again, it shows that there is, if had it not been 50 people in it, I'll probably have been, you know, much higher in the ranking there. But Santa Claus, Sarah Palin, a former governor, former vice presidential candidate, you know, you're right. Or retired. Yeah, it is what it is. And
got some kind of fame, right?
Yeah, and Nick Begich, you know, no digging on him or anything, but he is part of a political dynasty in Alaska. So for him and I to have been like in the same room, same conversation, and people are choosing who to vote for, you know, that says a lot, you know, right there by itself. So I encourage people to look past the finances of candidates and look at the candidate and look at what they're trying to bring to the table. Because once again, it goes back to the history here. There was a candidate in, I want to say it was New Jersey, in that same cycle, actually, New Jersey state house race. He was a truck driver who ran his campaign on $100 and ousted the Speaker of the House. Look it up, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not making stuff up. You know, I've seen some crazy stuff in campaigns across the country. I've been doing this stuff for 30 years, and I do this for a living. You know, I run and consult on campaigns, and so I seen crazy things happen that don't make the news because it's like such an anomaly that they're like, we're not talking about this because we don't want to motivate other people to think that they can do this. But it goes back to what's going on in our country. We're going to get to that in the next topic, but I just want to lay that out there right there, because like Tiffany, you ran a campaign. You ran an exceptional campaign.
I had 4 months though. I didn't have 2 years. I had 4 months, and they put me in at the last minute. And you know, here's the thing: when you are really for humanity, which I am, my heart is for humanity. I do not like people to suffer or experience pain, and that's good. So I had built relationships with people over the years, and when I needed a website, I got that in-kind donation. So I had people who were willing to help me, not because of my financial status, but because the value of what I brought to them, or if I helped them and I helped them find a job, or I helped them in some way. That was my currency. It wasn't the coin and the dollar. My currency was my heartfelt value, which I was given. So in that way, I could, you know, I did pull from my resources because I had helped so many people and people knew me. It was easy to do. Now, had I had enough time, I probably would have maybe been close to winning the seat or winning the seat, because at that time they were saying it's time for a black woman in the Senate. Now, the person who was on the ticket with me wasn't of the same culture, and I don't think anybody was really looking for them. But in the party, their focus was so much on the money and how much people were raising. They did not look at the quality of the person. And I actually told them, I said, you guys don't know what you're doing. And I had that. I mean, people in the part that I'm in, they say I am difficult. I'm not difficult. I just represent the truth. That's it. And I'm going to tell you the truth. You can't look beyond what the person is bringing. You know, and my background is dynamic. I love politics. Some of the very same people that you see on television have sat in my living room, you know, as a kid. So for me, it was like, you didn't do your research, you didn't study, you don't even know who you're talking to. Yeah, you're going to be like this. Okay, good luck with that. You know, so you're not going to get, and until this party resolves to identify with the fact that they need candidates and good quality candidates, and changing how they think about money and bringing money into a campaign, will we have better? But until then, we're just going to be, it's going to be a stalemate. That's all I can say.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. And the crazy part is, you know, to your point, is that a lot of people think that, you know, oh, this is not a viable candidate because they're not raising money. Some candidates don't even focus on raising money. They look at it as, if it's going to come, it's going to come organically. I shouldn't have to ask you, can you donate to my campaign? You know, if you like what I'm saying, you like what I'm saying, you like what I'm doing, you're gonna automatically just say, you know what, I love what you're saying, let me write you a check. I love what you're saying, let me donate to you. Those are the kind of I know a lot of candidates like that. Matter of fact, in this recent congressional race, it was like that. You know, Janelle Gary, her campaign was running like that, and she raised $6,000 compared to the other candidate that raised a little bit over 100,000. Another candidate raised like 20,000, something like that. And then you have Stephen Wright that was down at 35. He raised I want to say somewhere around close to 6, 7, 8,000, somewhere in that ballpark, or maybe not even that much. I don't remember off the top of my head right now, compared to billions that was being poured in for the other candidate, and he still ranked up there. She still came in, you know, going to the runoff. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you, you miss your shot when you support the candidate that has all this money because they got it donated from PACs, they got it donated from corporations, they got it donated from big pocket folks and everything else. Now that the Supreme Court has said that the everyday you and I citizen, we no longer going to be subjected to that cap of $3,600, whatever it is right now, for federal races. Now I can write a check for $10,000 to that candidate, and they, you know, hopefully they will win, and I didn't waste my money, type of thing, because I'm not going to get a refund, you know, it's not a tax write-off. Sorry, folks. But it still gives me the opportunity to chip in more than what I wanted to. Now, on the flip side of that, you have candidates that will utilize these PACs and everything else. That may start to go away because of the change to this. It is up to Congress now to rewrite those campaign finance laws based on these decisions. We'll see how that goes. So, Tiff, we're running out of time, so I'm gonna move on from that. The next thing, I'm just gonna the Supreme Court decision on men and women's sports. That was a no-brainer. There's some states out there that's still trying to say, hey, that we gonna recognize transgenders in export, you know, type of thing. Compete with we're gonna still allow these boys that's pretending to be girls to compete with women. Okay, there's some states like that, but I see that those states are gonna have to come on board with the majority and not allow that anymore, simply because those states that have banned it, they're going to say, you know what, you're still on this BS, so we're just going to forfeit, or we're not going to participate, and now that's hurting the revenue of that sport in that state. And so it's going to come, it's going to come to a head on that.
It always boils down to revenue in all situations, mostly.
Yeah, and for me, somebody said this earlier today. When they said I can't wrap my head around the fact that we're having this conversation. Why not just create a transgender for men, transgender men, transgender women bracket? Sports. If there's that many people that's trying to compete in this, just create a bracket for them, and they compete like that. And now you can have all the guys in the world that want to wear a wig and a dress and say that they're a woman. They can now compete with each other in that, and all the girls that they got a pee-pee and they can grow a beard and all that. They can compete and do their thing. And there you go. Leave us normal people alone. Leave the boys and the girls alone. Y'all go do y'all thing. You look crazies, and y'all figure it out and let Darwinism run its course from there. I don't know what the problem is.
I believe that, so here's the thing, I believe that they at the beginning so that they could have what they wanted. So let's disrupt the apple cart and let's, get it to sway our way. Which that seems like a good solution. You have your own group, you can do whatever you want. But that's what they wanted in the first place, which people don't understand how this goes. It's a mental game. Chess playing is real in this society. I don't care what you say. It is.
True, it is. Yeah, I agree.
I'll move this way because I want you to move this way. You know what I'm saying? And I think
life is chess. I love that. Yeah.
It's chess, and you have to play to win. And if you don't understand that, then you will never know how to really navigate through this world the way
I agree.
With your own power. I'm not even saying anybody else's power. Everybody's power forward is different. You know what I mean?
That's true.
Everybody is different.
That's true. And
the simple category.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to throw it out there real quick. For those that understand chess, knows chess, I am in the market, if you will. I want the 3D chess set that you seen on Star Trek back in the day, that you move a piece of. That chess set is like, look, folks, you can go to Amazon right now and look it up. I think it was last time I looked at it a couple years ago, because that's way outside my budget, and I'm not just spending that money on it. But that chessboard is like $2,000-$3,000 or something like that at that time. It might have gone down because of people just not buying it. But if you feel generous, ladies and gentlemen, you can reach out to me and let me know, hey, I'm willing to buy this chess set for you. I will love you for life. Just throw that out there.
I love it. If you are promoting things that you want, you're like, hey, let's just throw it out there. This is
Hey. Purham for US, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal. You can put in a note chess set. And I promise you it will go towards that. and there we go. But
education of young men and women learning how to play
chess,
chess.
yes. Yeah, I was in high school. I was on the chess team in my high school, and I played both 4th chair and 8th chair. It went up to 8 chairs. Every now and then, depending on the school we were playing, I would play 2nd chair. And for those that understand what I'm talking about, you know how difficult that could be. So being able to move between chairs like that and playing in tournaments and stuff like that, that's what I did, the 2nd, 4th, and 8th chair. And I grew a love for chess from my father. My father was an avid chess player and tried to teach me at a young age, and I just wasn't getting it. And it wasn't until I became a teenager that him and his friend, I watched them play, and I started paying attention to what they were doing, and I was like, wow. And it started applying to life, like you said, Tiff. Making moves a certain way in life, you're playing chess versus checkers, type of thing. And so that's where I grew my love for chess, and I enjoyed it in high school. I still play to this day. I just don't have anyone to really play with. And so, but when every now and then I'll sit down and I actually on my bar, in the living room. I have a chessboard set up, and I'm currently teaching my wife how to play. And so she got the basics. She got the basic moves now. And so anytime we walk past the bar, we will make a move. And so it could be days that go by that we forget that. We're like, who move is it? So now we have to calculate backwards. Like, okay, because white moves first always in chess. And so we calculate backwards. Okay, all right, this is where, so it's my move now. And then make a move, and then we go on about our business. And she'll come by and look, and she'll like, oh, he made a move last night. And so she'll make a move. And so it's currently set up like that. Kitchen nut, ladies and gentlemen. It's pretty interesting. We haven't touched it in a couple of weeks, so I'll probably go out there after this and make a move on there. But
Awesome.
yeah, and so the other case that the Supreme Court did, we're gonna go over. I already see that. That's okay. The Supreme Court came out with the birthright citizenship opinion, and I already knew a lot of people knew that they was gonna go this way because basically sustaining what we currently have. You come to this country, you're pregnant, you drop an egg, it's a citizen, and so. We already knew that it was kind of going to go that way. The hope was that, hey, if you are not a legal resident in this country, your offspring will not be a legal resident in this country. That's basically what the premise was. And I am of the opinion here, once again, ladies and gentlemen, it's like the butthole, everybody has one. I am the opinion here that there is a way that Congress can still rectify this, and that is by just bringing up a constitutional amendment to repeal the 14th Amendment and adding a law or creating a constitutional amendment stating that if you are in the U.S. illegally and you have a child in the U.S. illegally, or you're here illegally and you had a child, that child goes back with you wherever you came from, and you will not get any benefits of the United States because you are here with that. And that decentralizes it. And like I said, ladies and gentlemen, you go back and watch our Pastor Larry show, To Let the Truth Be Told, from today. You will see us talk about this in depth, about this. And so that is a consensus that I have about that, is by decentralizing birthright citizenship. Because you got people that come into this country and they will have a baby, and they will take that baby, they go back home and be gone for decades, and then they come back and say, oh, my child's a U.S. citizen. They was born 30 years ago here. And now that child gets to apply for chain migration by sponsoring their family members to be citizens and or naturalized or legal residents and all this kind of stuff. The way to end all of that is simply by just saying, hey, if you are here illegally and you produce an offspring here, don't mean anything. Congratulations. Both y'all get your asses out of here. and let it be that. It's just that simple. And the Constitution actually spells that out that way. But the Supreme Court said otherwise. But it is already spelled out in the Constitution under the 14th Amendment that there are certain classes of people that will not be recognized as citizens if they have a child in this country. It's already spelled out in there. You just got to add in there saying, that includes legal immigrants. And let it be that. It's also already spelled out, free person born. Free person was referring to slaves. So
Exactly. Yeah, we gotta say that's a juicy, beefy topic. I'm telling you, I was overwhelmed by some of the research that I did, but and especially because I came from the South. I was born into the South and visited quite often. So, if you will, I'm a product of the South, and my roots are there. So I have people that I actually talk to about this subject matter, and it was really funny because before they even knew what all this was, they had their own opinions. And this was actually an older guy. I think he's almost 80 or something like that. And it was just his own not even opinion, or things that he learned, like, that dealt with slavery and the 40 acres and the mule and all that kind of stuff. So that is going to be something that we're really delve into when we start talking about it. But as far as them coming over, because a lot of times people from other cultures, especially there's one main one that came over here, and they declared it years ago that they wanted to overtake parts of the United States like California and because we were considered Mexico. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's a historic fact, right? We were considered Mexico. So their strategy was to get as many people here, have babies, and to declare, as part of theirs. So I agree with what they're saying. Like, no, don't come over here, have a baby, and then you don't want to do anything. You don't want to be a productive person in society, and now we've got to pay for the baby. Because, you and I know about taxes. The more babies you have, the more money you
Oh, yes.
So, that is all. We don't but we both get mad about that because, if you don't have any dependents, you get $7,000 per or something like that per dependent on your taxes at the end of the year. Now, if you don't have any dependents to declare, your check's going to be minimal, if not anything, or you may owe.
Yeah, and on that real quick, it's a crying shame. It's a crying shame that our tax system is set up to benefit the trash class, and I say trash class, ladies and gentlemen, those who are looking to negate being a productive member of society. They're looking for ways to not, participate in it, but reap the benefits of it. That's a trash class, in my opinion. I don't care. You can be mad at me and say that's not a polite thing to say. I'm not here to be polite. I swore an oath to the Constitution of the United States, not your feelings. Let's just make that perfectly clear, ladies and gentlemen. I have always said that, and that's why I stand on 10 toes. And so that's, but we're gonna talk about the tax thing. It's coming, ladies and gentlemen. Y'all will be like, oh wow, I never thought of it that way. But yeah, it's coming. Well, real quick, we're gonna move into. I want to get your thoughts on the communists taking over the Democrat Party, aka, well, not aka, but they're also going to take over America, apparently. So we have, the primaries last night, Colorado, another crazy lunatic communist, Democrats Socialists, excuse me, Democrats Socialists won her primary against an incumbent that's been in office for 15 terms, 30 years. And then in New York, they had their onslaught up there. So you're seeing around the country all these Democrat Socialists winning these primaries against incumbents, Democrat incumbents. And they're saying, like, hey, your time is up. We're taking over. And I look at it as I guess you'd say a green light for the midterms in a way that, yeah, you may have won your primary because that was an inter-party thing, but when you go up against the general electorate, you're going to get your ass demolished. And so it's going to deliver for the Republicans a pretty handedly majority in the U.S. House. Now, albeit I was concerned about going into the midterms on how things may shape out. But given the dynamics of what's going on right now, I'm like, okay, I think we're good. I think we're okay. And let's do this. Let's play these silly little games because no one in their right mind thinks that socialism is okay in the United States. Yeah, it sounds good. It sounds utopian and all that, but in application, it has never worked. You cannot point to a country, ladies and gentlemen, Google it. You cannot point to a country that succeeds on socialism. Europe has adopted some models of socialism in some of their countries. Models, not the entire apparatus. Venezuela, Cuba, so on and so forth, China. They adopted, we even adopted, in the United States, believe it or not, we adopted some tenets of what would be considered socialism or communism, but we're not adopting the whole entire framework. And these are the candidates that are coming in with the entire framework, and it's not going to work. And so, your thoughts, ma'am?
Well, okay. Yeah, I had to take a little breath there because as President Trump continues to be the president, a lot of what you hear from the Democratic Party is that he's a dictator. He wants dictatorship, right? On the other side, the Republicans who express the Democrats want socialism that we somewhat have, but probably could continue. We might be there. Not to say that we would, but true democracy, ladies and gentlemen, and I totally believe this, it has to have two components. You have to have a monarchy who cares about the people, and then you have parliament, right? And those are your legislators. That's your political party. We don't have that anymore. So we have our politicians have combined roles to be for the people and yet make legislation for the people, and they only have interest in one, not the other. Right? So whether or not why is he trying to be a dictator? He's not trying to be a dictator. He's not wanting it his way. What this man is doing, first of all, he's a businessman. He's coming in and looking at it as a businessman. 80-20 rule. Keep the 80, let go of the 20, right? So what is working and what is not working? Right. So that we can progress and we can maintain our status. Ladies and gentlemen, we are only 250 years old compared to other countries around here. We're not the be all, first of all, right? We're not the be all. We are like in our infancy stage. So how do we know, or how can we say we know as much as any of these other countries who have been here for many, many more years? So like I said, the Republicans, say that the Democrats are talking about socialism. They want a socialistic society. And then, you have the Democrats who are constantly talking about, Trump wanting to be a dictator. Look at what President Trump is actually you said, opinion. The opinion is not the law, right? So look at what you're doing. It's not that he's trying to dissolve all the laws or do anything outside of it. He's just looking at it like what needs to be fixed. And he's a man that's going to get the job done, and he's going to try and fix it as quickly as possible. Because without that, we're never going to be what we need to do. And,
exactly. Yeah.
And socialism is not a thing, but socialism keeps you on welfare. Socialism keeps you dependent on the government. That's what socialism does, and to a certain degree. That's what the Democrats want you to do. They don't want you to be a thinker. They don't want you to be an entrepreneur necessarily. They want to make sure that you have what you need as it pertains to the government. But ladies and gentlemen, do you want to be an employee of the government and have the government dictate to you? That's a dictator right there.
Exactly. Freedom. Yeah, and that's the thing that people are not realizing is they're telling you exactly everything that they're espousing that you should be mad at. They're telling you that that's what they want to do to you. in the same breath, they're like, we're going to go against the oligarchy and we're going to take their property. Okay, fine, that's what you want to do, but once you get that property and they give it to you and you rise in status somehow and everything else, they're going to turn around and do it to you next. So, like, what are we talking about here? Like there is no room. Okay, let me put it like this to you. Under Democrat socialism, there is no room for growth. There's no room for promotion. So for those who are thinking about upward mobility in life, if you want to stay stagnant in life and say, you know what, okay, I'm gonna go on Saturday morning and get my box of food, my bland ass cornflakes and my cheese and my can of beans, and just go back to my little cubby hole and be happy and merry. Okay, if that's what you want, sure. I grew up in that lifestyle in Chicago. I know what that's like, and it's not fun. And so I took it upon myself at 10 years old to go hustle in the streets of Chicago and to bring in income and say, you know what, Mom, tonight we have pork chops, and if I keep this hustle going, we're going to have steaks next week type of thing. That's how I came up, and so
the hustle's real.
The hustle is real. And ladies and gentlemen that grew up in that era of the 90s, you know what I'm talking about. You go around you go to that neighborhood church, and they had that food line, and you get that box, that government box, and everything was in white boxes and labels. You know what I'm talking about. The big can of pork. Yeah. And that big hard-ass block of cheese, the condensed or the powdered milk, depending on, what flavor of the week it is, and a box of bland cornflakes, and you got that hard-ass loaf of bread that you gotta actually slice. Yeah, I grew up in that, and so I know what that's like. And this is the stuff that the DSA is talking about doing if they take control. You're not going to be able to just wake up one morning and say, you know what, I am a computer programmer and I'm going to, run my own company and this and the other. They're going to come knocking on your door and talk about stuff. You're an oligarchy. We're going to take your property. And you're like, okay, here you go. Yeah. And now you got that box of bland-ass cornflakes and block of cheese. Come on, folks. Are we serious right now? Like, what are we doing? What are we talking about here?
There's definitely a distinction between entrepreneurs and people who really want to go out and achieve the American dream versus those who just want to get a government job. Let me tell you, nothing wrong with a government job. If you are, stapling paper, and that's all you do for 30 years, that's your job. You're not thinking.
Yeah.
You already know how to do that. You're not doing, but here's the thing. You're waiting for that pension. Oh man, in 30 years, I have this job because it's not hard because pink, just staple one piece of pink paper to another piece of pink paper. That's the job, right? And I'm not saying the job that's it, but it's a one task thing, right?
Yeah.
So you can stay there for 30 years and get your pension and get your retirement, but there's another side, and this is what I love about America. You have the freedom to go out and be an entrepreneur and to make things happen for yourself. But see, there's nothing like getting it on your own. Not that anybody can help you, not that you can, because see, a lot of people like government jobs, believe it or not, because they don't do anything and they can sit there and go to sleep for a couple hours and come back to work. I'm serious.
Yeah, that's true.
What is the use of doing that? I can't understand that because I'm not wired that way. So I believe in entrepreneurship. I believe in making as much money as you want as possible and achieving, because that's how, we're built that way in America.
Yeah. But, absolutely.
Sit there and not use your brain and not be creative and innovative and want to do something to for humanity to get ahead. Me personally, I don't understand it. But
right.
It's up to you, and you're right. You don't get back in the day you got the government cheese, but it has evolved, and if you have EBT, you can do different things and you can get better food, but you just won't get as much of it. So you're kind of forced to get that stuff that's not good for you.
And even then, it's limited now. You could get an EBT card and all this kind of stuff, and thanks to the MAHA movement, they removed the sugars from that schedule. But also, not only that, you're still limited on, what you can do with that. Yeah, you can eat a a lot of stuff, depending on how much you get. I know some folks that get like $1,000 in it, and I'm like, you're not getting $1,000 worth of groceries in a month. Like what are you doing here? And I would call on the government to examine that. But whatever. Okay, fine. We have a surplus of food in this country apparently. But you got that craziness going on, and then on top of that, you're looking at the welfare system. The welfare system. This goes back to the taxes, ladies and gentlemen. The welfare system and the foreign aid. If I can pay taxes into these two buckets, then we're doing something wrong. The government is overtaxing me. Mm-hmm. We gotta pick one or the other. Mm-hmm. We're being socialist to these two classes of people at our expense, and or at my expense, at your expense, for the working class, for the retired class that are paying taxes. We're doing something wrong here, ladies and gentlemen. But we're gonna shut up and shut down. Tiffany, final thoughts.
Well, I had a great time. This was really good. I wasn't really sure how it was going to work out. And I knew we only had an hour to cover everything, but you said, okay, well, forget it. We're already at that point, which, okay, was great because we never really go overtime. But I think it was great. I think that, as people here in the United States and as we come on our 250th birthday, really look at what we want going forward. What do we want our society to look at? Because I think we're at a space in time where humanity is becoming more aware of what they want, and a lot of things are going to change, but it's up to you. You have the power to create the change. That's why you vote. But vote again for people who really are concerned about your well-being and not lining their pockets because they can get campaign money and then support the opinions of those that like corporations or whoever the donor is, but I thought it was great. I think, when we talk about the 16th Amendment in our next discussion here, it's going to be really, really good. And so thank you so much for the topics. I had a great time. We always have a good time.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you, Tim. And I'll see you soon. God bless. Be safe out there. And I'll let you on in a couple of days when we get into the 16th Amendment. That's gonna be it's gonna be so good. All right, I'll talk to you soon, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, my bad, wrong screen. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm excited. Ladies and gentlemen, hey, Tiffani Jones. We're gonna get into the 16th Amendment in a few days, and trust me, you're gonna be like, yes. I'm not trying to, and don't get me wrong, folks, I'm not trying to make this a movement, like, me being like the head or the face of the movement. I'm bringing this as awareness, because there's already talks out there about the 16th Amendment. There's already talks about the 17th Amendment, the senator stuff. But the 16th Amendment is pinnacle, and you're going to be like, whoa, get up. Yeah, and so you're gonna love it, and so we're gonna get into that here in maybe this week, hopefully, or not early next week, and you'll like it. But folks, I'm gonna jump up out of here. Don't forget to pick up my book or order my book, The Polarizing America, The Economist Society. Which web screen is okay. I use this one. Yeah. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever you get your books, pick that up. It has a lot of good stuff in there. Some of the stuff that we're currently talking about actually is even in this book. So get that and let me know what you think. And with that being said, folks, I will holler at you all later. Ciao, ciao.
I hope you enjoyed this program. You can follow, like, share, subscribe on Spotify, Substack, Rumble, YouTube, Facebook, and your news. And also you can download Let the Truth Be Told app on your favorite streaming platforms such as Fire Stick, Apple TV, and Roku. Take care. God bless.